Hi, I'm Ellie Frost. I'm the founder of Ellie Frost Consulting, and this is an online program to support the consulting work I do, aimed at giving people advice, tips, insights that I come across working across a broad range of clients from all sorts of demographics. When I was thinking about where to start with these videos and this program, I obviously I've got lots of businessy topics. I'm very passionate about creativity and innovation, leadership, culture, lots of broad things that will come up. But I actually thought the most appropriate place to start was to deal with failure, because probably, well, certainly one of the most or strongest reasons that I see that gets in the way of businesses expanding, growing, innovating, strategically developing is often connected with failure. It's either fear of failure, it's an assumption that a failure has happened before really there's enough information to substantiate that, or there's a lot of risk analysis made on assumptions that again may or may not be entirely appropriate, that kind of predict a failure, which often then happens. And I think for me, like, the first thing I'd say for people in jobs, entrepreneurs, businesses, is that you have to rethink your concept of failure. There's no business out there, no big entrepreneur out there that hasn't failed many times on our sort of societal definition of that. But really, I think it needs to be redefined as failure often is giving up. And all the insights you get through something should be brought into what you do next. So often people will analyse a situation and say, oh, that was a great failure. Let's list all the things that we've done wrong. And I think it's really useful to look at where you've gone off track, but at the same time to really acknowledge what was good about it and what could have been good about it, because sometimes the greatest things come out of those kind of situations. The fear of failure is often the reason why people don't speak up in meetings. It's why people, especially in top-down, very heavily hierarchical organisations where it's very top-down, don't get insights from the rest of the business. And even when I work with them to sort of open up the business and start creating more fluidity and interaction, the fear of getting it wrong often gets in the way of people really collaborating, co-creating and working together. So I think that culturally, to create an organisation that is almost not pro-failure, but certainly not like, is more accepting that that could happen, redefining what failure means. So failure most of the time means you've given up. You haven't really failed unless you've given up. And you don't really know enough if you've got enough, good in there that things have failed. And everything, any big products out there often's had products before it that were almost there but not quite there. So I think the biggest blocks to innovation and often getting things going is kind of this mystical fear. The way to deal with that, obviously, is to be pragmatic. And yes, you have to take into account what's gone on before you, and you have to take into account rationality, and you have to assess risks. But really, you also have to trust in what you know. You have to be prepared to take a leap. You have to be very, very soft on yourself and compassionate with the whole business when things don't go exactly as you plan. Because really, again, failure as a definition, in my mind, often is giving up. And it's also a situation that occurs when a business expects something to go exactly as planned, and often just because something isn't unfolding exactly as you want it to doesn't mean that it couldn't come to fruition and be a great business. Sometimes it's the fullness of time, but often you might have the most brilliant thing that you've marketed wrong, or you might have had an idea that you didn't execute quite right, but you were really onto something. So I think my first idea to share really is readdress your concept of failure